Geoff Thompson, MBE, 5 times world champion in karate. You're also the founder of an organisation called Youth Charter. Could you tell me, what are the origins of the Youth Charter and why did you found it?
The origins of the Youth Charter very much reflected my journey from street to stadium and from stadium back to streets by way of the riots in the 80s, the fact that the communities I'd developed and grown and hopefully excelled in my world champion achievements were disaffected, disillusioned and rioting. The then Prime Minister of the time, Margaret Thatcher, and I met at a reception and I challenged the notion that sport couldn't be something more than just about the winning. And as a result, an inner city review group was established which looked at inner city sporting, recreational and leisure provisions and how it could improve opportunities for young people and communities. That saw me enter into public life, where I was to serve in public bodies such as Sport England, Great Britain Sports Council, the Big Lottery, now New Opportunities Fund, or New Opportunities Fund, now Big Lottery, but a whole host of public appointments that would see me contribute that very personal journey in a professional light. In 1993, I'd relocated to Manchester with my wife, Jan, and fellow world champion, of which not many people ever associate. One of the benefits of a competitive career is you find people of a like mind and a like-minded philosophy. And upon our moving to Manchester, we were involved with the Manchester Olympic bid, and it was on January the 2nd in 1993 that a 14-year-old schoolboy was gunned down on the streets of Moss Side. His name was Benji Stanley, and today it still gives me a feeling of such profound sadness that a young boy with so much potential as Benji had, and he had sporting potential and academic potential, as I came to realise from his mother, who would share what he was really about, brought, I think, into question the whole issue of our young people, what they were doing in our communities, and the sheer fact that communities had changed significantly in life chance. I decided that sport, with the encouragement of my wife Janice, she said there must be something we can do, and I decided to use my sporting and public life influence to establish the Youth Charter. So 50 young people from the north met 50 young people from the south at one of the iconic venues of sport, Wembley, and we launched a charter. There was no youth ministry, so we took a youth charter and simply had a mission aim that sport would provide an opportunity for young people to develop, not achieve, but develop in life. Education, health, social civil order, the community, environment, but more importantly underpinned by the volunteering, vocation, training, employment and enterprise that would need to underpin, embed and sustain the young people's life chances within the communities in which they lived. I had a unique opportunity to use the public-private sector, third sector and community sector partnerships of the bidding process, and that saw the Youth Charter take a life of its own. Strategic plans, many incredible people who helped shape its birth. Dr. James Grigor, for example, was the chairman of the Central Manchester Development Corporation and also helped underwrite Manchester's Olympic bid for the 2000 Games. And he'd helped shape the strategic plan with me and put in place a plan that, even on my reflection 20 years on, was absolutely spot on in what it could achieve and what it would ultimately achieve.
What does it actually do? Can you give us an example of the kinds of things that the Youth Charter as an organisation does and how it helps young people? Firstly,
we're about advocacy. We present, plan, prepare and share, first and foremost, the experiences of young people to government, public, private sector, lobbying organisations and institutions that, in my humble opinion and experience, had seen a disconnect by way of what the wants, needs, desires is, and how we work that out by way of the resources, the policies, and ultimately the capacity we give communities. So once the policy and advocacy was developed, now it needs to be the empowerment, equipping, and I think embedding of our approach within engaging in schools, where we believe is a very strong aspect of prevention. So we saw sport and the arts as part of a cultural offer in schools, hopefully then see in our communities a lot of the intervention work become intergenerational. This is where the young people would engage with the wider community, and we would see all community practitioners, agencies coming together to deliver projects and programs that very much reflected a bottom-up approach. The third element was obviously to provide the evidence that would support the work, and this saw a number of reports. We've been involved with a number of research projects and universities in our belief in that if you can shape the policy, that informs the decision and the resources that would hopefully see a cycle of wealth created. And ultimately our international work, which recognised we were part of a global community. And a lot of our work with, for instance, UK PLC with trade missions very much still reflected the bidding and hosting of major games. And we had the successful 2002 Commonwealth Games. And for example, we had communities who visited from the Commonwealth Moss Side and the Moss Side Millennium Powerhouse that we'd inspired. And at the same time, we had accommodated 1,000 young people, 100 from 10 cities throughout this country, that would have normally not had an opportunity to experience the games, but ultimately came, saw, were inspired, and then developed our legacy initiative, Citizenship in Action, which up until now is delivered in 10 communities here, 10 communities in the Commonwealth.
If we talk about 20 years that the Youth Charter as an organisation has been going, what do you believe its legacy will be?
I've learned that legacy is something that is an individual interpretation and experience. I believe, certainly with the 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games last summer, that it has very much reflected all of the philosophy, mission, aims and objectives of the Youth Charter's work 20 years ago, running up to, leading up to and including those games, and very much now where we are looking at how we can inspire a generation to be the best that they can be. And that, I think, reflects both the challenges and opportunities of how we engage our young people in our communities, how we motivate them to be part of the very challenges that we face in equipping them and enabling them with the skills to achieve in life, and then ultimately inspire an aspiration that can see us truly in a global community deliver locally. And the legacy of the Youth Charter for me is that so much of it is now reflected in different interpretations, I would argue, but very much, I think, reflecting the spirit, not too dissimilar to Live Aid in 1985, which I was very much part of. And what was one of the motivating factors to establishing the Youth Charter is that the arts had done it very effectively with sport on the periphery. I felt with the Youth Charter is that sport could become the central tenet to everyone's appeal, attraction or interest, but see all the supporting and other aspects of infrastructure, as we did with the games and what delivered those games, for me be the legacy that would simply say, if we could do all that in Britain in staging and hosting a major games, why couldn't we see a legacy of a third of that effort actually helping to engage our young people and improving our communities?
And going forward, the Youth Charter as an organisation, as you say, is not just about Manchester, it's not just about the Northwest. No. It is an international organisation, isn't it? One
of the great misperceptions that we are a Moss Side agency. Moss Side was the incubator. It was where we learned, we failed, we succeeded. You know, I'm still haunted by the lives that have been lost, but inspired by them nonetheless, by the lives that have been saved, that have been enabled, empowered, equipped. And our United Nations NGO, that was a status afforded to us in the year 2000. It's something I am immensely proud of, because it was how we were able to take a Moss Side experience locally and then share it with the international community within the UN family, and then to see the sport and social human development for peace movement now a very active, a very live and thriving movement. So it's it was not planned. I think it was just the way things manifested themselves. But the fact that we were truly global, but recognizing that locally, that young people's lives, communities and societies are very much inextricably linked. The 24/7 culture of the world, the interactive multimedia lifestyles and social media means we had to be able to be aware of what a cry from the streets might look like in Moss Side, as it would be in Soweto in South Africa, as it would be in a favela in Rio de Janeiro, to another similar estate or a similar community in Eastern Europe. And I think it's favelas, townships, projects, deprived communities, all one and the same thing, but they do house an extraordinary spirit, an innovative and creative energy of hope. And I think ultimately legacy for me means hope.
Yes.
And it means providing hope to every single human being, and a young person in particular, because they are going to have to fix whatever it is that needs to be fixed, or else I can't see how life's challenges become the opportunities for future generations. And I believe that irrespective of what you look like, where you come from, what you sound like, what you believe in, we all bleed red.
Yes. Thank you very much indeed. Geoff Thompson, MBE, founder and executive chairman of a very, very important organisation. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.